If you've been watching anime for some time now, or just started recently, odds are you've watched at least one show on a website that pirates anime. Hell, I used to do it too before I got Crunchyroll, and for a while I thought that was all I needed. But then I learned about the licensing hell that we're in right now. Hello everyone! This is the RPG Monger, and while I'm sure you've seen a crap ton of videos going over the ordeal with Netflix and Anime Strike, today I want to focus on the industry of licensing as a whole before getting into that mess. So firstly, what even is the process that anime will go through to be licensed and distributed through the variety of modern ways we watch anime? Well, let's start from the top. With the end goal being the formation of a contract, there is quite a lot of nitty-gritty in between. In general, everything can start with simple things like cold calls and cold emails by anime producers to companies that would be interested in licensing their shows. Sometimes when producers are too small, sales agents will be hired for this exact reason. When in this stage of the process, there will be distributors that like to license a bunch of anime at once. So actually having those shows ready to go can help the process go a lot smoother. But then there is another avenue to go about it: trade shows. And quite a few of them at that, with one example being the Tokyo Anime Fair. When these trade shows take place, they are quite the big deal, with all kinds of information being exchanged between companies. For relatively new distributors, these scenarios are absolutely essential for really getting into the content business. It's a place to meet peers and experienced professionals, with friends and acquaintances met there becoming solid business relationships. On the other hand, presenting yourself poorly to these people can result in basically your exile from the practice as a whole. Okay, now onto the deal. And this is probably where things get the most complicated, so I'll try to keep it simple for you all out there. There are 5 things that you'll have to know to understand any of this, so let's just get into it. Basically, what the licensor promises to pay the publisher, whether the show does fantastically or utterly flops. Now this one is a bit outdated, as before what would happen is someone would just duplicate the master tape for the licensors, and it would be $300 per tape. But now, what happens more often than not is the publishers will just send hard drives with the show to the licensors instead. More or less, this is what's left of the sales revenue. If the show bombs or is just too expensive, then it could be absolutely nothing. But for ultra successes, it could end up being a lot of money. Usually, licensors will ask for a 15% or 20% split of it, with some even going as high as 30%. It's honestly exactly what you thought it was. The term is just how long the license lasts. For home videos and such, 7 years is the norm, but for online distributors, it can sometimes be only 1 to 2 years. Though online, many contracts can automatically renew without any recognition whatsoever. The final and probably most simple term, this is actually just the area of the world that the publisher is even allowed to sell anime, with the US and Canada being sold together more often than not. So there you have the deal, but it is not nearly over. Next is another equally important part of this complicated process: the contract, where the actual deal becomes official and confirmed in writing. Now, usually, the contract will include just about everything I talked about, so there's no need to go over that again, but what we can do is get into the juicy bits. The fine print, as you will, that if overlooked, can become a living hell for either parties. So to start off, let's talk about supervision. When giving off your prized work for someone else to distribute, you trust that they will do just that, right? Well, in the older days of the anime industry, Japanese producers would never really pay all that much attention to their licensors and their international releases. This has led to some pretty shocking discoveries on their behalves, from edits to the actual source material, changing the scripts, and even replacing music. So around 1999, when anime really began taking off in the US, licensors became very strict and began cracking down on all of the negligence taking place. It began with packaging, but eventually all things, from print advertising to the dub script and casting choices, ended up being subjected to licensor approval. But guess what? That wasn't even the end of this problem, as now with the actual Japanese licensors going over everything, while it does keep things more in line with what the creators originally intended, as these licensors for the most part do not have the best English, they will suggest grammar choices that, for those who speak the language fluidly, can tell are clearly wrong. As annoying as situations like these can be, it is now an expected thing in the industry, and there isn't much you can do about it. Though, to make it so the process won't be stagnated forever due to these issues, licensors only get a set amount of time before the publishers progress and stop waiting for feedback. Now, if there is anything that can make a foreign publisher go absolutely insane, it would be the actual materials themselves. Basically, what the licensor absolutely has to give them. Are there plans for a Blu-ray in the works? Well, you will need to send an HD master. Promotional posters? You need high-resolution artwork for that. Unfortunately, producers are not always the most cooperative bunch, since Japanese companies are horrified at the thought of domestic consumers opting out of buying their products at local stores and instead importing cheaper American-made discs. The paranoia and passive aggression on both sides can be pretty overwhelming, with practices like delaying materials, intentionally adding video problems to the masters, and even not sending anything at all. Licensors might not even want to send nice new remastered versions of older anime overseas. They may even charge massive fees to earn back what they spent on the remastering. It goes deeper too. Maybe you want the fantastic art found on the Japanese box set. Well, how about the extra features, director's notes, and commentary tracks? While there is still time to pull out, you will have to put it all in writing right away before the contract is signed. Keep in mind that for the most part, I am getting this information from the nightmare scenarios that have occurred. But it is important to remember that most Japanese producers have shown to be understanding and easy to work with, so keep that in mind. But now that we know all about the integral industry of anime licensing, an industry that is absolutely necessary to the entire anime business as a whole, let's jump into what is happening in the current day. Along with just about any other anime YouTuber out there, I am a huge advocate for people to actually support the creators by using services like Crunchyroll and whatnot. What has happened recently though has really sparked quite the ripple in the anime community, and unfortunately has only elevated the amount of piracy present. By now, I'm sure you've heard this from a bunch of other people already, and I still suggest you go watch their videos on this as well. But I really need to give my 2 cents on this all. As a matter of fact, Netflix and Amazon already had anime on their sites for streaming for quite a long time and way before this current issue surfaced. Though the big difference is now they're trying to actually become competitors to such services as Crunchyroll. And look, I'm all for healthy competition. Without it, terrible monopolies would be everywhere. What these two services are doing, unfortunately, as you very well know, is basically taking a good bunch of anime from each season and distributing them as exclusives on their sites, thus not letting them be licensed to any other anime streaming service. This wouldn't be so bad either, but unfortunately, where the business model of Crunchyroll is more user-friendly, with the service being available for free and simulcasts being made constantly, it seems the new kids on the block have more cons than pros. For Anime Strike, it's just a fact that to actually get the service you need, you have to pay for Amazon Prime, and then Anime Strike instead of it just being a standalone service. So the solution is pretty obvious there. Netflix is a standalone service, but they instead don't do simulcasts, with huge hits of the season only coming out upwards on 4 months later after their original release. If you want to see this be explored more in depth, I'd once again suggest watching the videos everyone else has done, but needless to say, this is a serious problem. The real question is, will the problem ever be fixed? Unfortunately, odds are it won't, since with big businesses like these, inconvenience for the average anime fan isn't exactly their main concern. But I will remain hopeful that hopefully, more sooner than later, these issues will be addressed. Now before I go on to my outro, I have a channel update for you all, so feel free to skip this if you feel so inclined. Basically, today is a very big day for me. Along with me hitting 10,000 subscribers earlier this week, today marks the 1-year anniversary of me making these kinds of videos. Firstly, I want to extend a massive thank you to everyone, especially those who have been supporting me for months, even though my videos used to be pretty lacking in quality. So as you may very well know, I have an upload schedule of every Saturday and Sunday at 8 AM EST EST, and I've kept that schedule up pretty much ever since I started the channel, with the only exception being the week I went to Japan. Well, in these upcoming months, I may be dropping my Sunday videos on certain weeks, due to the lack of time and just so I can focus more on my Saturday videos, as usually my personal rule would be that the Saturday video would be the one with the most effort, and the Sunday video be a more light video. And I'm also considering changing the time I upload to be 10 AM instead of 8 AM, as I've noticed that that would probably be way more convenient for my viewers overall. In fact, I'll probably test it out with this video to see if it's true. And before I forget, I've realized that I sound a bit monotone in my videos and robotic at times due to the way I edit my audio. So take it from me, I'm gonna do my best to fix these problems from here on out, don't you worry. But there you have it. That's the end of my update. Once again, thank you so much for sticking with me this long, and I honestly cannot wait to see what the future holds. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, do subscribe, and today's cool thing of the day is the Gantz opening. While the anime and manga aren't exactly my most favorite things out there, this song has been all I've been able to listen to for this past, 3 days now? So, hey, come join the curse that I've taken upon myself and listen to this song non-stop. And a quick note, don't watch the Gantz anime. It's really not that great. So that being said, I'm the RPG Monger, and don't forget that each and every one of you are fantastic.